Hey everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video it will be more a festive theme tutorial because I will be using Christmas ornaments as you can see for my tutorial assets. I will be providing the scene for you to actually work alongside with me, so if you have access to my Patreon page you can actually access the source materials from there. And then you will get the whole Maya scene, you get all the models because I modeled this stuff myself. It's a pretty hilarious video. You can see it on my most recent live session regarding layering and material mixing and layering. And as well you get the textures I have used, and I can't give you the HDR and I cannot give you a few other paid objects which I have in the scene, but the most basic masks I am using, I will provide them for you and you can follow along. Before we jump into it though, I want to make sure that you guys are getting the notifications whenever I go live or publish a new video. And to enable this notification system, I cannot preview this on my channel because I am logged into my account, but if you go to my channel you should see this notification bell on the top right corner. And the default is it's off, so make sure this is on and you guys will always get a notification when I go live, when I upload a new video, or if I post a discussion on my community page. So be sure to check that out. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate if you would do so, just because I can see in my analytics that more or less 60 or 70% of my viewers are not subscribed to my channel, and it would benefit all of us if we get more feedback from the channel itself. So let's try to hit the 20k mark. We are almost there, 600 subscribers, and then we have it, and that would be a big milestone for myself as well. And I also, my Patreon page is linked here, which you can find on patreon.com/Arvid Schneider, where you can access all the resources and source materials. You can get those rewards and you get access to all this stuff. As well, I have a light shader page, a Slack group where you guys can ask questions. We've got 370 members on it. It has different channels: Arnold, Renderman, OSL stuff, which is very interesting. And the community is growing here, which is very helpful, and we are increasing the members and get more feedback, which is very lovely. I really like that as well. So for this tutorial, I have a few reference images. Some of them are CG, but it's more or less the look and feel of them. You see, these are like, I'll try to do something like this, like these slanted curves. This is a bit too crazy, like I don't have the displacement maps for stuff like that, but it's just a good reference what we will be kind of doing today. So I will be creating several shaders and I will be showing you all the steps involved in doing so. So I guess the first thing which we will do is just create a basic ornament, I guess, which will be the red one with a Merry Christmas slogan on top. I think let's do this as a first start. So here we go. This is my current scene, and if I hit render, let's just do that a second, we should see something happening, which is this. So currently let's just do test resolution is 50%, which is now 1K, and I think I have more or less medium quality settings, and as you can see I am rendering depth of field. So for now I'll just stop down the settings, the AA samples to 5. Just one quick check here, if let's put this to 64, bigger tiles to render. And yeah, as you can see, this is my current setup. I'm rendering this curve as an object, and let's just for now disable the depth of field effect, or not effect, the render of depth of field. So this is currently what my scene looks like. And as you can see, there's no shaders assigned. So for now, before we start to do the ornaments, let's just add some shaders to the metal objects on them. So let's head over to the hypershade. which should be empty, hopefully. There we go. And if you want to see the light setup, the scene setup, check out the live session. It's all done there as well. Okay, so the first one is, let's do a surface shader. Standard surface, really basic stuff. And rename this to AI. Let's just call it metal. And like, I tend to become lazy and I don't want to rename the shading engine. So in the light shader menu, there's a rename shading engines all, and it just takes in the shader name and just renames that properly. And because I'm lazy as well, I will create a AI jitter. We'll actually do that. Jitter color. I just want to randomize the some will have silver caps, some will have gold caps. Anyway, let's just not do the jitter for now. I will just select all the ornaments, like these things. They are called loop. So select by name, type in loop in the top, and assign the shader to those guys. And then I think the same is called to the cap, I think it's called. Yeah. Selecting all the caps and do the same thing. And this will be that. I currently, I won't be doing any fancy things, so no user data or anything like that. And select all the balls and assign, let's just do a new surface shader, which got rid of my selection. So let's just do it again. Ball, and assign that. Okay, so now let's call this just base. I tend to have a base shader, but it replaces the Lambert. And then light shader, rename all. Okay, so saving this now, and I will bring up the render view and dock it down below. If you want to check out the layout, how I set it up, there is a live session how I am doing that as well. Okay, so this is now the shader assigned. As you can see, it's rendering. Hit the play button so it's live. And for the base, for now, I'll just disable the specs. So no spec, no weight for this, and just change the color to be a default gray, 0.18. There we go. And for the caps, let's for now create a gold rough metal looking something. This is silver, gold. So I'll do the gold one. Maybe also silver. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. So okay, let's just isolate this guy. Maybe we render full res and we just always have a little frame being rendered. There we go. So it's a bit bigger for you guys. And let's create a quick gold metal. So we go yellow, we go a bit orange, desaturate, hit the metalness slider, increase the roughness to maybe 3, and what else? And add a spec color as well, which is the tint, the edge color. Make this maybe a bit less saturated, and this would be the gold cap. Obviously nothing too fancy, pretty simple stuff, but I want to, because I want to focus on the sphere, on the balls itself. Okay, 1:1. That's the 1:1 scale. It might be a bit big, so let's just go back to 50%. There we go. So let's just focus on this guy. So the first thing, as I said, I want to create this Merry Christmas ball, right? Which one was that? This one. So I've got this Merry Christmas slogan, and you can see it's kind of two shaders. One is this clean red metal, and then there is a white coating on top. It has a bump, like it's being like kind of extruded, but we can either do this with a displacement map. Yeah, let's try that. Let's try displacement actually. I haven't tried that before. So let's just create a new tab and call this it's not updating, Merry. Let's just call it Merry Surface Shader. And I just want to assign it to this guy here. Stop the render, select this guy, which is this ball, assign it, and just call this AI Merry Christmas. Okay, and do the rename all. And you can also just rename selected if you want to. And so let's bring in the file texture node. Let's see if we can actually bring up the texture for this. It should be in resources, and you will find this resources folder as well. This or that is the question. I think we go with this one first. Okay, and for now, just connect this with the base color and see what we get in the viewport. Okay, so we get something, but it's not aligned. Perspective, so you can see it's pretty weird, so we need to adjust this accordingly. So how would we do that? I will tear off a copy for the perspective, and I will drop it in here as well. And then I've got two perspectives, and I've got the hypershade on the top. And then I will update my UVs. So heading over to the place to detection node, and let's see if we can actually position this better. So I think I need to scale it first. Repeat. Is that actually correct what I'm doing here? So if not, I need to change the texture a bit, but let's see if we can make this smaller. That's better. And now I just want to, I don't want to actually repeat that. I'm not sure how to do that. I might need to offset it. If not, I need, as I said, need to change the texture. Let's check the UVs. I'm not sure why I can't make this bigger anymore. Maybe hide this guy. Okay. So it's definitely being repeated. That's correct. And what I want to do, somehow just make it repeat once. So if I can't, let me just do it a quick test here quickly. All right, it was just not visible in the viewport. So what I had to do was disable the wrapping. So it's, oh, actually now it works. And then I had to offset it a bit, and then I got it to work in the end. So let's see how it looks in the camera perspective. So, oops. Let's go into my main camera shape, and you can see Merry Christmas is a pretty good position. If you go to focus, you can go to the last nodes, and let's just translate this a bit. I think we can actually translate the frame as well. Does that not work? Stretching this a bit. You can see like I'm hacking the UVs a bit now, but it's kind of working. Let's just rotate this a bit. I don't know, just something different, right? And this is now the assigned texture. And I think in the hypershade, if I change my file gain or something, I need to see it in the render, but I can make the default color to be white, and then we should be golden. And again, I like to rename my file nodes. So I have a helper here which renames the file nodes based on the texture name. So this is this setup. And you can see Merry Christmas is now on the logo. Let's go to the render view. I'm not sure why always the UIs change scale if I switch views. It's a pretty annoying thing as well. So updating, and you can see the wrapping does actually not work. It's working in the file node and in the viewport, but it's actually Arnold is not handling the wrap function. I'm not sure if the AI image does do that. If this has the feature, it does have that. So let's try to do it with that instead. So let's just copy the path and connect this guy up. Okay, and let's just copy those values. So my transform values were repeat 5, offset -2 in X. Repeat scale, I think is this, yeah, 5. Okay, and I think this needs to be, nope, I think this, oops, UV quartz is fine. I need to offset this by -2. And let's change the wrapping here to black. Yeah, okay, so this works. So the file node does not support that. I guess I have the wrong coordinate then. I just need to align it again. Let's just find it quickly. Alright, so these were the values I used in the end. So I'm just clamping them. Instead of using black, then I get the whites in the back, and I was offsetting it by -0.4. So now I got the Merry Christmas up here using the AI image node and just renaming it quickly like this. So this is kind of working, and what I want to do now, I want to use this as a mask input to create this kind of effect. So I want everything to be red, and then I want to have the white text on top, right? So to jump into that, let's first go into Maya again, and let's just move this out of the way. And let's create, so this is currently in the color, so this needs to be a mask, right? So let's just disconnect this, and first let's get the red look working. So we want to have a metal shader, and it kind of looks like it's metal, and then there's a kind of a code on top. So first let's create this red color like this, and I think it's a bit more desaturated, and it's definitely darker, kind of like this, and it might be a bit more magenta and a bit more value for sure. Yeah, it's more actually it's more red than it is magenta. Okay, but this is not the important thing, I guess. Right, so this is the metal, and then we should do this as well for the spec color. I'm just choosing a kind of a similar color for this. And then we have the roughness slider. So it is very shiny, as you can see, but then again, it's it also has this little code layer on top. So I make it pretty shiny like this, and I will also add a code. Oh, we need to see if maybe we'll just for now work without the code. Okay. Not happy with the color just yet. Yeah, we need to saturate it more. Alrighty, so now let's use the mask to assign a new shader to this. So we can use a mix shader. This is one approach to do it. And so now I'm hooking up the out color to my surface shader, and then I'm using the Merry Christmas logo to, I think I will connect this to shader 1. And then this guy, which is the out color red, goes into the mix. And then, as you can see, it's the wrong way. So this needs to go to shader 2. And then we create a new surface shader. And this will be then shader 1, which will be the white texture. So let's connect these guys up. Okay, so that's connected, and you can see the clamp is not working. Obviously, you would need to make it a bit nicer texture, spend some more time on the texture to make this work better. So this is AI white. Let's just call it that, simple. And make it maybe, what can we see here? It's just white, so we can live with that. You can see the texture stretched a bit, but this is now how to set up a layer with the mix shader node. Make it a bit darker. Well, let's actually, instead of using a white, let's also use a metal. So let's use a golden color for this. Yeah, and then this is actually pretty good, I think. So this would be now a golden ornament, or whatever you want to call that. And now you have two shaders to control it. So if you think this is too shine, you can just increase the roughness on this guy, and you get a more interesting feel to it. And the cool thing now is you can also add a grunge map or a little bit of a noise to the roughness just to break it up, because it's not always perfectly clean unless it's like polished. So to do that, let's bring in a file texture. Let's use that, and then use or load in a grunge map, which I have here called smudges. And if I connect this to my to the base for now, currently it's two shaders, so both would need to get this map. Because it's two different shaders, both will need to get it. So let's just create a range. Ranges you can clamp or control the input values a bit better. And then we connect the red color to the spec roughness, and for the red as well, spec roughness. So both of them are connected now. And let's see if the TX file got generated. If I hit isolate selected, you can see the grunge map is on here. I guess it's not really positioned well, but it should work well enough. So we can kind of rotate it a bit or offset it. But I think like it's working, it's doing its job. It's more like scratches and there's like a big smudge or something. Let's just use this and head over to this guy, and then in the range isolate again, and now we can actually control it. So we want the fingerprint to be pretty white. So to do that, I just enabled the clamping. So now we can actually control the histogram a bit to make the whites more white. And we can actually make the dots more dark if we need to. So currently the black value is 0.06, which is actually a pretty decent value. And the whites are 0.3, so they can get whiter. So to 5. And now we have a value of 5. So this should be pretty rough now. You can see there's a smudge pretty visible now. And here it's actually looking pretty cool. Overall, it might be too much. So let's just bring this 3.5 maybe. And you can see we can have a minimum value of maybe 0.8. And then we have a minimum roughness, and then we get the smudge there as well. So this is kind of combining textures and roughness maps, and you can do displacement maps, you can do all that funky stuff as well. So talking about displacements, I want to try actually to connect the mix, like our mask for the Christmas, in a displacement map, just to see if we can actually make it work. So before we do that, I want to rename the inputs. So rename all, so we get the smudge there. And this would be, if you would do it properly, this would be AI range, and then smudge or spec roughness, or let's just call this smudge. So that's so we know which one we're working with. And if I now create a displacement shader and just delete the shading engine, and let's just stop the render for now, because it sometimes it seems to crash, especially if you reconnect new displacement maps. And let's connect the out red to the displacement and connect the displacement to the shading engine. And I know it's a black and white map, so we want a 0 value of 0, which is correct. Disabling auto bump for now. And let's just save and re-render, update full scene. It should explode. It did explode. Head over to the basic mode, hit the play button, and try again the basic mode. There we go. And now let's just change the displacement to be very subtle. Okay, so I think it's inverted. So first let's add some subdivisions to this guy. So going into the subdivision tab, increasing, setting it to Cat Clark, and maybe do 4. Okay, 4 is maybe okay. No, it was okay. So you can see it's actually going inside. And so what we want to do is we want to invert it. And you can see if you check the wireframe, it's pretty dense now. Very dense. So this might be way too much actually. Yeah, even this is pretty dense. So you need to be careful about that. Let's go back to basics. But then you can see it's getting edgy, and you can see it's not as clean anymore. but the effect is still looking pretty good. So let's just try to invert it. Let's go to negative. So now it should go outside, and it did work. So now we've got this little bevel. And if you want to add more detail, you would need to increase the subdivisions or blur your map out or something. But I just want to make it cool, so I'll just do 4 subdivs. It takes a while to subdivide it, but the result is a lot better. And if we head over to the basic mode now, you can see it's pretty smooth. You get this nice extrusion, and obviously it seems to be too much. So let's just reduce that by 0.02, so it's not as much extruded. And then you get this nice effect on it. So this would be, let's say, the first shading ball we do, right? This would be part 1, I guess. So let's see what else we can do. This would be mix shader. Let's call this AI Merry Christmas. Okay. And what else? We got stars. We got a few things actually still to do. So let's just move over to this guy, which will be the next one. And we call, not sure which one we want to do now. So we have this kind of effect. We want our iridescence maybe. Okay, let's see if we can just do something like this. It's kind of the same principle, but we will do it a bit different from the shader point of view. This thing, we have several shaders connected in a mix, but for the next one I will do one shader, which has also mix nodes, but they will be driving the certain parameters in the shader. So the first thing what I want to do is create a flat. AI flat is like a constant color, and let's create another one, which are 2, and then I mix them together. Delete the shading engines. I always get created, which is sometimes annoying. So they will be driving the base color. And then, yeah, let's first connect this up. So this is shader 1, shader 2, and base color. And we create a ramp. This will be my mix. And this red output goes into the mix. Because it's a grayscale map, I can use either channel. You can use blue or green or blue, doesn't matter. And this would be now my base color. So let's call this one AI striped. And this is just the base AI mix base color. Okay, so this is this setup. And now let's hit the render button. It takes a while because of the displacement. So I think just for the sake of doing it quickly, I just do reduce the displacement maybe to 3, the subdivisions I mean, so it gets done a bit faster. So I selected this and assign, so this is now connected. And if I head over to the diffuse, you should see currently a white shader. So if I go to the isolate and select the ramp, this is what we currently get. So it's, you can see it's like fading from the bottom to the top. Change the mode to not linear, to none, so we get a hard edge. And now you can see it's actually split in the middle. And if we go to the place to denote and we repeat it by, let's say 10, maybe the other 10, yeah, the other 10 it is, then we get this repeating pattern. So if we go to 15 maybe, yeah, that's interesting. And now what we can do, we can rotate the frame by 45 degrees, and we have a problem. So this does not work. This will work. So maybe we'll, instead of doing like diagonal stuff, if I rotate the UV, will that work better? I guess this is the same issue. If I go to 90, no. Yeah, okay, so we might just do horizontal stripes then in the end, unfortunately, because the UVs are not ideal. Or maybe I can I rotate it in here? I don't think so. V ramp, U ramp, diagonal ramp? No. Anything special? No. Okay, let's just work with this. It's not too bad. It's still, the principle applies. It's the same thing. And then you can do, instead of having these hard edges, you can actually do a smooth one, and then just bring these two guys closer together. And I guess we need white here as well. And then another black. Okay, so now we have fall off on both sides. And now we just need to bring those two guys closer together. And then we have kind of a softer edge. It's not, it kind of looks spray painted or something like that. If you would use linear, it's like a really black and white edge, and it's not always looking as nice. All right, so this would be now my mask. And if I now head over to the mix, oh, it's locked. Unlock it, go to the mix. So now it's still just white because both flat colors are white. So if we want to create, what colors do we have? This one is dark green and light green, and this is a metal and a dielectric. Let's just change the roughness. That's easier, I guess. So let's go to the red and change it to be more like a greenish color. And the other one gets just darker, like so. All right, and both are metals, so let's do that. Let's just first change this to be the shader. There we go. And head over to metal. So now we have a shiny sphere as well. And obviously we want to control the roughness, but we want to control the stripes independently, right? So now what I do, I'll just duplicate this whole setup here. Actually, I duplicate the whole setup, all these guys. I think if I do this, edit, duplicate with connections to the network. No, that's not right. I need to actually duplicate it. So if I go edit, duplicate with network, I think I should get it all. I was mistaken. Thought this is how it works. Duplicate, shading network. Oh, stupid me. Okay, there we go. This is what I wanted. So now this would be roughness, right? So instead of AI mix base color, we call this spec R. All right, and we want to use the same node. So if you change one, both will change. So I'm just control middle dragging this onto the yellow spot, and we get it duplicated. Okay, and let's connect the red channel to the spec roughness. All right, currently we still have colors in here, so this won't work as expected. So come on. All right, I just recovered from a crash and I had to reset it up, unfortunately. But so I have my constant colors. They go into the base color, and then I have metalness enabled fully 1, and then I have my two black flat colors connected to my mix spec R, which goes into the spec roughness. So now I have the control to actually change the roughness value based on the inputs. So now I'm changing the stripes, and now I'm changing the green metal, or the green thingy. So if I want to work with that, but I still want to have a clear coat, so what I can do, I can go into the main shader now, and I can just apply a coat, and now both have still this shiny sheen on top, like this. So this is pretty helpful if you want to have separate control of things. And also I can apply a bump map now. I can apply the same grunge map to this stuff. So this is pretty helpful as well, using the mix and going from there into the shader. And obviously you still have the control. You could actually have one as a dielectric and the other is a metal. So you can actually plug the binary map right into here, and you can control whichever is metal or not. What else can we have? We can have different roughness maps for the code. So what I like to do actually, we can connect this grunge map just to see how that would work if I would use the same map from here and just use it as it is in the other network. I bring that in plus, so I got the bump to D and I got my smudge map on the top, and I'll just connect the red channel to the bump and the output from that into the normal camera. You can see that now I got the smudge and all that stuff as a bump map instead. So now I have the option to control it, how strong I want to see it. So that's maybe a bit too low, but you can see something is happening on the surface, and the smudge is not really changing the bump itself on the surface. It's mostly changing the roughness. But I just wanted to show you how this also adds a bit of realism. Alright, so this is now 2 spheres. I think we can do one more. Let's see. So what else can we do? I've got also these ornaments, so I will use that as well for the next one. Let's choose a blue and light blue. So this would be stripes. Spelling is not the best, but it's not as important right now. So let's just focus on this guy here. So creating a surface shader and selecting this guy and assigning that. So now we should have a surface shader on this guy. Perfect. And now let's bring in these ornaments. File texture. We also might, this might just work, we'll see. So if I go to source files, one more, resources, and let's just use the snowflake. Right, and connect this guy to the base color. And now, I'm not sure, it's pretty black, so this does not work. If I use a AI shuffle, I think there's something like that. Yep. So what I can do, I can actually plug in the alpha in here and say the red is alpha and the green is alpha and the blue is alpha. I hope that this will show it now. Yeah, so the alpha channel is black and white, and then it's connected into the shader. So I'm just shuffling the alpha into the red, green, and blue components. And the same stuff applies. I can add a repetition, and now we get these repeating snowflakes. Let's just add a few more. And I think we can use stagger. This should change the layout a bit. And yeah, so they are always in between now. What else can we do? We can rotate this. Yeah, rotation doesn't work because the UVs are not ideal for this. But anyways, I think this will work as well. And I have two different ones. I've got the normal one, and if I duplicate this, I also have a blurred version, which is just a bit softer. And I think if I use the alpha for this as a bump, let's see if we can get this to work. If I use the alpha as a bump value and plug this into here, and I need to connect the same guy, so that's now set up. And for now, let's just break the base color. Okay, so now we can see we have the bump map on it. And let's just save and change the value to a lower value of maybe 0.1. That is 0. Okay, so now we see something happening. I think we need to try to a bit more, and I think it needs to be inverted. So just make a negative value out of this, and now it's actually going outside, which is cool. It's kind of the same as a displacement, but this is a lot faster and we don't need to subdivide the geometry. And this is working because I have a softer map for this and we don't see these hard edges for the bump map instead. Okay, so now we can still do the same thing. So let's just make this a blue color. Maybe a bit lighter. And let's just add this, let's just give him white flakes instead. So now we can use the same thing, use a flat. Two flat colors, flat shaders. Duplicate this guy. So this is again, I'm just repeating the steps again. And connecting these guys up, shader 1, shader 2. And this map will be the mixer. This one goes into the base. And let's just change the colors here, blue and white. So this is kind of the effect. Pretty simple. And now I want to use the metalness instead. So I want to be the flakes, be dielectric, and then the blue stuff be metal. So I'm just using the same value here, which is a black and white map, as you can see. So whatever is white will be metal. So what I need to do is I need to invert this map. So you can use a reverse node, or you can use a range node, you can use a multiply node. There are lots of ways to reverse the input. And this goes into the metalness, which is not shown by default. So what I tend to do, just type in metal, connect the X, and now you have metal for the blue and white for a dielectric for the flakes. Yeah, so this would be the AI blue, like so. And let's just change the roughness a bit. Yeah. So now we've got these 3 ornaments, which is pretty cool. And I think this is showing you how to layer things. This is working with masks. So you use, if you want to exclude something, just create a mask and it's being excluded from this. Right. So what I want to do now, I want to kind of reuse those, but I want to change the base colors of things, right? So let's head over to the, let's just call this blue for now, just that I know which network is which. And let's assign the Merry Christmas one, which currently, yeah, needs subdivisions, but anyways, if I head over here, let's just assign Merry Christmas to this. Yeah, maybe on this one. They will get the Merry Christmas shader. And let's connect the blue. Oh, it doesn't even matter. So this one. So now it gets tricky. Can I show them in here? Kinda. So some work, some don't. I think this is not, this is unassigned. This is unassigned. And this one is. So this will get the stripes. There we go. And then we still have a few ones left. I think this one and this one. Okay, and they will get the blue. Alrighty. And if I render now the perspective camera, you should see that they are all being assigned, right? Okay, so now it's a bit uniform. What I want to do now is I want to kind of randomize things. And this is actually pretty simple to do, which is great. And you can actually add way more realism to your shading networks and to your renders. So for the Merry Christmas logo, currently I don't have a color, right, for the red, or I just have a color, no map. That's what I wanted to say. So to do so, let's create a jitter color node, and this map will actually drive our base color. So let's just copy this value. So I just go up and down, so it's being stored. and then it's in here. If I just make a smaller radius like this, and I can now go to the jitter and change my input color to be this red, and then the out color goes into the base. So currently nothing really changed, but now the difference is that I now have the flexibility to randomize the base color based on the object ID. So all I got to do now is change the object hue shift. So hue max. And you can see that this is now all of a sudden green, this is teal, and this is kind of golden. You can change the saturations, you can make them more saturated, you can desaturate them like this. So I'm not sure what this color is, but you get the idea, right? You can have different seeds. Let's just not change the saturation. So this is purple, gold, and that. So this is the one thing you can do. If you now want to use the same output, but grade it a bit because this one is a bit more desaturated, you can just connect in an AI color correct node. AI color correct, connect the input to this guy. The output goes to the spec color. So both are connected. You see, and now what I can do in here, I can just desaturate it by maybe 0.8. So now if I hit isolate selected, I can see that this is this color and this is more saturated. So this is how easy it is. And now let's just kind of do the same thing quickly for the other ones. I won't be using the same jitter because it's a different shader. And this one has actually this connected. So this is green and this is, so these are the stripes, right? And I want to have kind of the same ballpark color. So I don't want to have green and orange. I want to have the same color, but just a different saturation or gain. So I will use a jitter again. And I will change the green just so it's appearing in my quick selector. Oh, it's actually in here already. And this is now the same idea. So I'm connecting this to this. Well, this one needs first AI color correct. So it's actually the same principle as before, but instead I'm just changing the multiply to maybe something like this. And now if I hit render, this is what we get. And in the jitter, I would need to change the hue. So now we've got a purple one, another purple one, a green one. So pretty similar. Let's just try two different seeds. So now we've got purple, green, and this guy. And the color correct is doing its job. You can see it's working as well, pretty good. And now we just need to change the blue shader as well. So if I go to base color, and actually I could have used that as an input, I think. Jitter color, let's see if I connect this directly to here. This should also work actually. So now the input is a texture or a shader. Yeah, and this is working also as expected, which is pretty awesome. And which means I did not have to connect this in here. I could have just connected the jitter right after, and I didn't need to create this color correct node. But I guess this is a matter of preference, so it's not a biggie, I guess. And this kind of concludes the tutorial, but I will set up the render a bit. So obviously you can also change roughness values with the jitter. So instead of connecting it to the base color, you would connect it to roughness or bump, or like the possibilities are pretty endless for this kind of approach. So now you can see this is my my render view. You get all the nice reflections. It's working pretty good. You can also change the orientation. You've got lots of flexibility now. well, the bump is a bit strong, I would say. So let's head over to the blue one. Go to the bump and just maybe try 0.2. Yeah, that's a bit better. All right, so now what I like to do, I would like to enable the depth of field again. And let's see. All right, so the focus is currently on this guy. And now let's just adjust the focus a bit. So main camera, I've got this locator which is connected to my render camera. If you know how to set it up, check out the live session about mixing and layering. This is how, in there I'm showing you how to set things up like they are here. So now I can just move the locator and my focus point is being adjusted. As you can see now, the focus point should be in the front here. Let's just update again. Okay, so now the focus point is right here and you can see how it's working. It's pretty neat. And all the rest gets really out of focus, so it's definitely very noisy, but you get the idea how it's working. So let's just focus on this guy right there. So Merry Christmas is in focus. I want to just bring back the subdivisions, which I reduced just before. Oh, I didn't actually. Okay, let's keep them there then. And this is now the render. And I want to have this sphere to be red actually. So let's go over to the shader for a second and just do a seed. Is that the wrong one? Oh, yeah, it was the wrong position. So now it's teal. Do we get a red one here? Well, the closest we had was on 4, I think. Oh, yeah, so Merry Christmas. And obviously for render settings, let's just bump them up now. So we want to have nicer specs. We want to have maybe a value of 15 here. And we have 2 spec bounces, which is cool. So let's just render this. So this is now the final render. So you can see, though we have the same exact shader, it does not feel like it's repeated. And because it's using AI jitter, you get actually a different color on your shaders, which is pretty helpful. And unfortunately, Arnold is not as good with depth of field noise reduction right now. That's why we get those damn artifacts. To get rid of that, you would need to render out a Z pass, a D pass, or something like that to do the depth of field and comp. But for the still render, I just wanted you to show you how the result looks like. And yeah, with that in mind, I want to thank you for tuning in. And I wish you guys a Merry Christmas, definitely. And keep rendering beautiful images, keep posting them, link me to them on Twitter or whatever, and I'll be happy to see what you are doing with these techniques I'm showing you guys. And always don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on the channel. I really appreciate that, especially if I hit the 20k subscribers. That would be very helpful for me. Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye.